Hey, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our Wednesday Ephphatha Bible study for Wednesday, the 5th of May. My name is John. I'm the pastor of First United Methodist Church here in Mountain City and Trade United Methodist Church in Trade, Tennessee. Well, it's a kind of cloudy day here in Mountain City, but that's okay. It's been raining off and on, but that'll make the grass greener and the flowers prettier. That's okay. That means I have to go mow my yard, but that's all right. Again, we're in our Family Life Center. There are spaces available if you want to come join us in person. That's fine too. But as always, if you have questions or comments, feel free to put those in the comment section. And let me see if I can get my email address up there. And you can always email me questions or whatnot, and I'll be glad to deal with those as well. So, all right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting being your own video director while you're trying to do a Bible study too. Anyway, I want to share a neat mug with you. This is from Fort Morgan, Alabama. That was a road trip that Gail and I took in the fall of 2013. We went to Corinth. We went to Corinth, Mississippi. Went to the Shiloh battlefield. Drove down the Natchez Trace and ended up in Mobile Bay, where we saw Fort Morgan, which is on the eastern point of Mobile Bay, and then took the ferry across to Fort Gaines, which is on the western edge of the bay. The two forts protected the entrance to Mobile Bay, since the War of 1812 through World War II. That was a neat trip. We tend to take these wandering road trips that often end up at a beach somewhere. We did this a couple of weeks ago. That's exactly what we did. So it's fun. So good memories. Still a vivid memory. This brought back a lot of good memories from, I guess, 8 years ago now, but still, that was a good trip. All right. I am using a new piece of hardware. I've got a USB hub for the internet, for my microphone and for the camera there. And hopefully that will work okay. So if I'm having technical issues, video stuttering, or audio weirding out, please let me know in the comments and I will try to address that. Try to make the best stream possible for you guys. Okay, today we are beginning the final chapter of James. Again, there's a lot going on here, so I don't know if we'll get all the way through or not. We probably won't. But let's go ahead and see what James has to tell us. Excuse me. Okay, James 5:1. Come now, you rich people, weep and wail for the miseries that are coming to you. Your riches have rotted, and your clothes are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have rusted, and their rust will be evidence against you, and they'll eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up treasure for the last days. Listen, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out. And the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and in pleasure. You have fattened your hearts on a day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous one who did not resist you. Okay, all right then. Yeah, that's some hard stuff. All right, let's start at the top layer. Granted, we here in the United States are very, very rich by the standards of the rest of the world. We've got all sorts of good things. Most of us have enough to eat and shelter for ourselves and our loved ones, and those are all good things. Those are not bad things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in the scale of the rest of the world, we're really well off. But I'm not sure that that's not a false equivalence, because we're not taking our whatever money we've got and moving to a third world country where we would have a lot more than everybody else. We're trying to exist in our own context, where you need X amount of dollars to provide housing, to to provide food, to provide health in the form of health insurance or health care, which in America is a disaster. So I think that kind of, well, we're better off than everybody else, it kind of misses the point. What James is really talking about are folks who are rich more so than their compatriots, and especially those who are rich because of, in this case, fraud. James just goes ahead and names it fraud, and that's a good thing. And, that's a problem, and people should be held accountable. And people often aren't. There are two justice systems in America, one for the rich and one for the poor, and that's not right. But anyway, those who defraud, who cheat, who steal, they should be held accountable, and restitution should be made as much as can be made. But I think there's another, a more insidious form of greed that is kind of poisoning us, maybe. I'm going to be talking Sunday about loving our neighbors and how to live in an imperfect world. And I'll kind of be touching this. These ideas are kind of rumbling around in my head right now, so that's kind of why it's popping up. I think that we're having a pandemic of greed, if you will. There are all sorts of, well, here in Mountain City, the local Burger King said, apologies for service being slow. We're short-staffed because we can't get anybody to work. And when I drove with the drive-thru, I was trying to be very patient and very kind to those who were working. They said they did pretty good, actually. Because the workers, it's not their fault. I got to wonder, brothers and sisters, if they up the wages, would they be more apt to get more workers? It's a hard situation. There used to be a covenant, and that's the correct word, a covenant, a two-way promise between labor and management. And granted, that's been a fraught relationship from the get-go. And I'm proud to say that the Methodist Church, it wasn't United Methodist back then, but the Methodist Church was on the forefront of fights for the rights of labor to organize, to have some sort of collective bargaining power against the power of wealth and capital and management, and been active in the social justice fight for living wages. I think it's part of the pandemic of greed, the pandemic of sin, that every time we start talking about helping other people, people start whining about socialism. Like, oh, that's terrible. I tell you, if you think Bernie and AOC are liberal, you should get a load of Jesus. But anyway, there has been a pandemic of sin, of greed, of getting mine and not really caring a flip about anybody else. And that is not what Jesus was all about. We were to take care of our brothers and sisters. You may hear some of this material again on Sunday. So the rich folks, they need to make sure that they are using their abundance wisely. God does not begrudge us abundant life. It's not evil to be rich. Some rich people have done some amazing things with their gifts, and they've not been corrupted by their accumulation. But that's the minority. Most people, when they get some, they want more, and we're seeing that pandemic of greed all around us, and it's frustrating. It's depressing. Our world is broken, and we're trying to have to live as best we can in it. But yeah, James is saying specifically, if you have defrauded those who have worked for you, then it will be it will eat your flesh like fire. That's a really vivid image. And I think part of the problem we have, brothers and sisters, is that we know God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, has this preference, this preferential option, this special care for the poor, for the widow, the orphan, the oppressed, the silenced, all of those folks who others put down, steal from, take advantage of. Our God has a special place in his heart for them, and we as a people of God have to do likewise. I think the trouble is that the consequences of taking advantage, the consequences of oppressing other people aren't immediately obvious. If God would do some instructive smiting, things might change, but he has entrusted us with the task of talking about, living out a better way. And yeah, I don't think we're doing such a hot job, to be honest with you. I'm not. And I think we all need to do better. So what do we do with what we have? That's the key question for everyone. If you have a lot or if you have a little. And it's James is talking about the rich here, but I want to be a little more fair and say it really is a heart matter rather than just a certain level of stuff, of money or whatever, that creates the problem. Because those who have very little can be grasping and greedy and conniving as well. So it really is a heart problem rather than just a bank balance problem. But it does seem to be that the bigger the bank balance gets, the bigger damage you can do, and the more people tend to want. Greed can be a hunger that is never filled. That is why it is one of the deadly sins. Pride is the deadliest, but pride and greed go hand in hand. I am so wonderful that I deserve all of these things, and I don't care if I have to take it away from you or not. They go hand in hand. So, well, that's fun. That's a fun topic for today. So, it doesn't matter how much you've got; it's what you do with it that matters. Oh, let me check verse 6. You have condemned and murdered the righteous one who does not resist you. So obviously talking about Jesus, the righteous one, and his death at the hands of the priests, the scribes, the Pharisees, the chief priests, who were the wealthy and who were in cahoots with the wealthy, those who made money off the Roman occupation. And so there is... So Jesus was put to death in the name, I don't want to say in the name of profit, but definitely in the name of maintaining power. And power and money go hand in glove. So the idea he did not resist. And Jesus willingly went through the sufferings, the tortures before his torturous death on the cross. And somebody raised a really interesting point. I'm wandering a little bit, but I do think it was interesting, and it won't work on Sunday. That one of the reasons the image of the resurrection is so hard especially for unchurched people to understand, is that it is so alien to our way of thinking. I sort of say our human way of thinking, but Jesus was fully human and fully divine. So it's alien to our worldly way of thinking. I will confess to you, brothers and sisters, that I love action adventure movies. It's a guilty pleasure, and I do say that with eyes wide open. It is probably not Christ-like for me to cheer on the protagonist. I'm not sure I should even say the good guy. The protagonist who wreaks bloody vengeance on those who have hurt him or hurt his family. There are, goodness gracious, a great many movies who feature the protagonist having been wronged often by the murder of loved ones, that he comes back and in a spectacular and violent fashion wreaks vengeance upon those who have wronged him. And I'll be watching the movie going, yeah, get him. And that is not the example of Jesus. The reason the resurrection is so hard for people to grasp is that Jesus didn't come out of the grave and hunt down those who hurt him or who wrongly had him murdered, but he came out offering words of forgiveness and words of hope, even to those same ones who hurt him. So, yeah. So we aren't doing so hot, are we? We need to make sure that we are being more like Christ and realizing and owning up to the times that we fall short. That would be a very different resurrection story. All right, verse 7. Where are we on? How are we on time? Verse 7. Be patient, therefore, beloved, until the coming of the Lord. The farmer waits for the precious crop from the earth, being patient with it until it receives the early and late rains. You also must be patient. Strengthen your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is near. Let me pause right there for just a second. Again, image of farming, and I think it really works even if we aren't farmers, if we don't live on the land ourselves. I've put out a garden. I talked about that Sunday. I'm not a very good gardener, and it's interesting though that no matter how impatient you are, the plants grow at their own pace, and we can help them along. We can fertilize, we can weed, we can water, we can give them all the tools that they need to thrive as best as they can, but we really can't hurry them up. There are greenhouses, there are master gardeners, there are people who can speed things up some. And with greenhouses, you can grow things out of season, but still things grow at their own pace, and we've got to be patient with them until they're ripe, until they're ready. On the flip side, if we neglect them, we don't tend to them, we can certainly slow them down. So we can't speed them up any, but if we don't do our part, we can slow the progress down to a crawl or even stop it entirely, like my poor little tomato plants last year. It was not pretty. It was not pretty, brothers and sisters. But anyway, so yeah, we've got to be patient. We've got to let the Lord do his work. And James wrote this saying the coming of the Lord is near. 2,000 years later, Jesus still hasn't returned. And I've said this before, probably here even in our Bible study, that I'm sure the writers of the New Testament would be astounded that Jesus hasn't come back yet, because they were expecting him later that week, next month at the latest. But our Jesus has seen fit to wait, and that's okay. If Jesus hadn't waited, we wouldn't be here, would we, brothers and sisters? So until Jesus comes back, we've got things to do. We've got people to love, people to help the kingdom of God to make manifest here on earth. Now, my personal opinion, did you hear that me say my personal opinion? My personal opinion, which isn't worth a whole lot, is that at this point, I think that Jesus is going to wait until all that can be saved, all that are going to be saved, are saved. There are some, I suspect that they are few, that will reject the word of the Lord, will reject the love of God. And but there are still many more who maybe don't believe, who don't know, who don't understand. And we as the church need to do a much better job of showing that. We're not doing a good job, brothers and sisters. We're really not. So we need to do better. But again, Jesus can come back this afternoon. Hey, I might not even get a chance to finish this Bible study, or it may be another 1,000 years. It doesn't matter. We've got work to be doing until Jesus comes to us or we go to him. So either way, really doesn't matter. We've got bigger fish to fry. We've got things to do. So we've got to live out our faith. So we've got to be patient. I guess should say patient with ourselves and patient with God and patient with other people. Our God is doing God's work, and it takes time. Heaven knows that we people change and ripen very slowly. So hopefully we'll get better. Hopefully, and we've got to strengthen our hearts. We've got to keep on being more like Christ. All right, we're about 20 minutes into it, and I think, yeah, there are several more bits and pieces here in this James chapter 5 that I think we would do well to spend some time with. So I think we're gonna stop it here. I think we're going to stop it here and wrap it up next week, so I can spend some more time with these last thoughts, because it's almost like James is writing his letter and he's like, okay, I need to do this, and this. There's sort of like this 4 or 5 different thoughts that he kind of gets out that we want to spend some time with. This has been an interesting journey. James is one of my favorite books of the Bible, partially because it is so practical and it is so hard hitting. It is all about living out our faith. Romans is a beautiful gift of theology, about the nature of God and the nature of Christ especially. And James is much more about, okay, here's what we do and here's what to look out for. So anyway, hope you guys have a blessed week. Stay safe. Take care of one another. And I hope to see you in church on Sunday. And you're welcome to come join us here in the fellowship hall, First Methodist Mountain City, on Wednesdays at noon. Join us in person. We can take questions and do things like that. But until then, I pray you have a great week, and we'll see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye.